Hello, everyone. Forest Focus as Nottingham Forest suffer their annual defeat at Arsenal in typically miserable circumstances, beaten 3-0 in Ange Postecoglou's first game. We'll discuss how bad the performance was, team selection, injuries, and how much we should read into it all in the company of, first of all, Ruby Naylor. Ruby, good afternoon or good morning. How are you?
I'm tired, but we move. That's one of the ones that you want to watch, forget happened, and move on with your life.
We should go now. Sorted. Well, it's good to have you back, Ruby. It's been ages, so good to have you back with us. Paul Morley, how are you doing?
Yeah, what she said. I'm all right, thank you. I'm
good,
all right.
Good. Mark Sutherns, how are you?
Yeah, okay. I mean, it was definitely like Ruby says, just get it done, get it out of the way. That's what I was saying with 20 minutes to go, really, and that was a shame. So there were some disappointments, but I don't think there's anything to get worried or panicked about. It's what we expect, I guess, when we go to the Emirates. Unfortunately, that's what we've come to expect.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to worry or panic about with the manager, certainly. I think if people, we'll get into this, if people aren't having Ange after that performance and they weren't having Ange before that performance, I would say. I mean, it's one game against a good team, and the ones to come will tell us more. I do think we've got a few problems on the pitch and a couple of areas that we'll get into. But Ruby, can you expand a little bit more on what you said there, just with some general thoughts on the game?
Yeah, it just seemed like almost from kickoff we were not in it. It seemed like for the entire match they had an extra player on the pitch. Half of our players could not, or looked like they were still half asleep. Seriously, I mean, Hudson-Odoi, every time he tried to dribble would lose it. Gibbs-White was literally like we were playing with a man down. He was nowhere to be seen, which is probably not his fault. It's probably more the way that Arsenal structured to make sure he couldn't get the ball. But that was not fun. Sangare off of it. It just seemed like everybody was off of it. Everybody was still an international break, but kind of like you said, I think this had nothing to do with Postecoglou. I think you throw Nuno in there, and we kind of get the same exact match that we just watched. I think there's a lot of stuff to work on. I mean, we are only a few games in, but it seems like there's the rudimentary stuff too, even like passing to feet and the first touch. It just seemed like every little bit was off of it today.
What did you make of it, Paul?
Yeah, I think I sort of agree with Ruby. I think we were just talking off air before we came on, weren't we? And that there's potentially a parallel universe out there that exists where none of the last few weeks happened, and Nuno and Edu are best mates, and yet we still would have seen what we saw today. I don't think there was anything sort of what we saw out there today was a byproduct necessarily of Ange or of all the stuff that's happened. Just you've got to remember that Arsenal are a very, very, very good side, and we'll be pushing whoever, Liverpool and whoever else, all the way, I think, for the title this year. So to go there and get beat is not a disgrace. I think the obvious comparison is, well, we look at last season, we lost 3-0 there last season. I thought at moments, at times, we had a bit about us. I think we were. I know Ruby was saying their passing to feet was off, and I think it was for the first 15, 20 minutes. I think arguably, in a funny sort of way, once Murillo went off, certainly for the last 10, 15 minutes of the first half, we looked a lot more balanced and actually had some decent spells of possession without really creating anything. There was that chance for Morgan right at the end of the half where it was a good bit of defending, wasn't there? But like you said, no real thing you can read into today too much. I'm sure we'll get onto it, but there's a couple of obvious positives and a couple of obvious negatives as well.
Yeah, we'll get into quite a few things around team selection. I've got one gripe with Ange, certainly, Mark. I suppose the question is, firstly, how bad were we? And secondly, how much of that, if anything, is down to the manager, would you say?
I think it's very harsh to put it down to the manager. I mean, it's difficult. They're the best defensive unit in the Premier League. Let's face it, right? So creating anything against them is difficult. I don't think you can say that the manager had enough to impose his system or way of playing on that team in the time that he had. Perhaps the one disappointment I take from the game is I didn't see any really clues or signs about a new identity that we can look forward to under Postecoglou. I didn't really see any of that, but I guess that's not surprising given he's had limited time with the full squad. He had one training session, so what do we expect? So, and I think it's harsh because creating against Arsenal is difficult. And yes, I can't say, that was a good performance. It was in many places a poor performance, but it's what you get when you go to the Emirates. It's a very tough place to go. So our expectations are pretty low anyway. I think Anderson was again. I think he had a very, apart from the Arsenal players, he was the best player on the pitch. So, and I think he pushed a few of them, to be honest. I thought he was excellent again, and it just seems his confidence is growing before our very eyes, and he's going to be the kind of player that against at a lesser level than Arsenal, he will control the game. So that's encouraging. Gibbs-White was quiet again. Yes, there wasn't enough from him. I think that the few opportunities that we had in the final third, we didn't make the most of. There were very few of those. It's not quite our government. There were a few jabs, but meaningless jabs, really. A little bit of a spark when the subs came on. It was nice to see that Postecoglou did at least make some brave decisions with those changes. He made them early enough. He brought on players who gave them enough minutes to show some what they can do, and it was good to see a glimpse of backward, etc. So I don't know. I don't think you can take anything at all from that game. Really, it's very, very difficult. It's top quality opposition, and he didn't have long enough with the team, so you'd be jumping to conclusions. Very, very small sample size if you took anything from it.
Can people in the chat let us know if anyone's volumes are up and down? I get the odd comments saying some people are louder than others. So if anyone's quiet, do let me know. The only issue I have, Ruby, and maybe it says more about our squad than the manager, is Morato at left back was predictably disastrous. I mean, surely that was a distinct possibility against Madueke. Are you angry at Ange for that, or do you look at it and think, well, Savona came on and maybe he's not ready? I don't know. How do you view that team selection?
Yeah, I don't think you can really be angry with it. I think he kind of thought he was going with the lesser of two evils. A fullback that's never touched a Premier League pitch starting against Arsenal is probably not an ideal scenario. So he went with the scenario that feels a little bit safer, and obviously it turned out to be not at all. But we saw that once Nico was over there, Madueke had a lot less looks to get in behind and whatnot. Second half was a little bit different, but once we made that switch in the first half, it felt like the game kind of got not flipped on his head, but we felt a little more structured and a little more had our boots in the ground. But even Morato on that second goal was not on it. Even once he moved into his full-time position, he still didn't look like he was 100%. We still missed Murillo in there. So I don't blame Ange. I think he kind of did the best with the scenario that he's in. Not having Zinchenko definitely played a part in this, ironically. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't blame Ange. It was just we need more fullback depth.
That's a worry, isn't it, Paul? Savona looks like he's going to be very much a work in progress. We'll come on to the second goal. Zinchenko, we're putting so much stock in now, aren't we? Because Morato can't play left back in Premier League games, surely.
No, I think that's definitely something that Ange will have learned today. But going back to what Ruby said, Ange himself said, didn't he, before the game that he didn't want to unsettle things too much. And I guess he's got a decision whether he either puts in Savona, as Ruby said, who's never played a Premier League game, or he's got Morato, who's played, I don't know how many, 15, 20 odd appearances for his last season. Is familiar with the teammates. All right, it's not in his favourite position. So, like Ruby says, it's a bit of a lesser of two evils. Once Aina's injured, and you've got to make that choice. I suppose the other thing he could have done was play a back three and have Ndoye operating as a wing back on one side and Williams on the other. He chose not to do that. And I guess we'll never know whether that might have been a better setup or not. But yeah, Zinchenko I think is going to be a very important player for us over the next couple of months. I think that was very evident today. And I think arguably what we saw in the first minute or two of the second half with Savona getting sort of caught under that ball maybe illustrates why he made the choice he did at the start and went for Morato instead. So yeah, it was a difficult one, and arguably either way he'd gone probably would have let's say ended up with the same end result, and we'd have struggled.
As said, moving forward, the fullbacks will be Nico and Zinchenko. They will in the Premier League. It makes the Europa League squad look even more baffling to me. But Mark, is that the big takeaway actually from the game, that we might have some serious problems at fullback? And now obviously Murillo's injured as well, which we'll get onto.
Yeah, we've got defensive problems there, no question. Like we might get away with Nico and Zinchenko week in, week out in the Premier League, but then they can't play Thursday as well. So what are we? I can't see a world where we don't shift to a back three in Europe. I think we're going to have to, because I just don't see what he's going to do without Zinchenko in the squad. in that area. So, and he can't play Nico Williams Thursday, Sunday all the time. We can't afford to lose him. We've got to protect him. So Nico will probably need to miss some of those European games. So very, very difficult situation now in Europa League in particular. And that is certainly a takeaway. Murillo's injury, a concern. Hopefully it's not ligaments. Hopefully it's just an impact. And it was a hell of a challenge, hell of a block, possibly saved a goal. It was typical of what we saw of him. And yeah, maybe we did miss him second half because maybe he would have been on his toes and cut that cross out. But it was a hell of a cross by Eze, and Savona caught out, wasn't he? So yeah, we've definitely got problems there. I still think we've got problems in midfield. I don't think Sangara is the answer there. I can only deduce that Luiz must be very, very unfit and not available for minutes, because I think, again, it hit the hour mark and Sangare, his mobility really became a problem. He also wasted a very good opportunity in the final third when he had time and space to pick a pass, and he didn't. He got it wrong. So it's like, if he's going to be in the team because of his ability on the ball, he's got to make those moments count, and he didn't. And I don't think he added too much, certainly after the hour mark. And Anderson seemed to be buzzing around and playing 6 and 8 at that point. So yeah, I think we've got a problem there in that midfield position, and we've clearly got a problem in the fullback areas in Europe.
I hope you're right about the Murillo injury. My instinct was it was a knock blocking the ball. For those of us who play FPL, he'd already got the required defensive contribution
for the first time. Yeah,
I thought he was playing really well. I thought him and Anderson was really standing out, and like Murillo looks on it, and then it's just unfortunate. That was a really good challenge, certainly. Let's talk a bit about Douglas Luiz. I was going to do it chronologically, but he's probably another big conversation coming out of it. He didn't get on, obviously. Ruby, Ryan Yates got on ahead of him. Is that we don't know what it is, I suppose, is the big takeaway. It could be fitness. It could be that a manager's thinking, I'm not sure about this player. It's too early to tell, but it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. I think there's clearly something going on in the background that they're not talking about. They're not addressing it in conferences or anything like that. I saw somebody in the chat say they wonder if it's a personality thing, like if he's kind of got an ego or something like that, which is definitely a possibility. Because I know his time at Juve wasn't spent well either. So I'm just kind of curious. I wish we had a little more insight into what was going on. Because, I mean, Yates came on and didn't really do anything. It's nothing to write home about. So it would have been nice to see him get the chance, but maybe Postecoglou also didn't want to take the chance against a team like Arsenal. I don't know. It's definitely something I've been wondering about since the West Ham game, honestly.
I hope he gets asked about it. I don't know if he will. At what point do you start thinking, Paul, what's going on here with Luiz? I mean, Wednesday, you kind of think, well, this is the time to get him on. If it's a fitness thing especially, then he needs minutes. Otherwise, then you do start to wonder.
Yeah, I was looking up his stats from last season, and the last time he played 90 minutes of football was the 11th of February. So it's a long time ago. He's had a bit of time out, obviously a bit of time not being picked. He went to the Club World Cup, he played 45 minutes, then was on the bench for the other games. So he's obviously quite a way behind in terms of fitness. So, I'm currently that's my explanation as to why we've not seen him yet. But I think you're right. I think Wednesday against Swansea, if he doesn't start that game, then maybe we do start to ask questions, because that feels like an obvious time to give him 55, 60 minutes and see how he does, and then see if he put himself in the frame for a Premier League start, or certainly for some minutes in the Premier League in the next few weeks. So I'm not reading too much into it yet. I mean, obviously there's the kind of backstory about him and Nuno, but I think we wipe the slate clean now. Now Ange is here, and let Ange make his own mind up. And I think it's probably too early for him to have made any conclusions other than maybe checking just the fitness stats of the player and making a decision based on that.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't exactly play into the theory about Nuno not having him because of his agent and all that stuff. But again, it's very early to tell. Looking at the squad, Mark, Igor Jesus wasn't in today. I'm just trying to think, people saying if Luiz is fit enough to be here, if he's fit enough to be on the bench, he's fit enough to play. Do you buy into that? I'm just looking who else wasn't in the squad. Jesus, anyone else that we're missing? I can't think.
Sure, Cunha.
I'm not sure he tried to
couldn't
use
you?
around.
Could have put Abbott on the bench, I guess, but yeah.
Yeah. I suppose, what's your take on the Luiz situation?
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit of a mystery to me that we haven't seen him for any minutes whatsoever. I mean, you think when you're 2-0 down and you're taking Sangare off, it's obvious that Luiz is going to give you more on the ball than Ryan Yates, right? Unless he's regressed massively in his time at Juventus, we know what a quality player he is. So on ability, if we continue to leave him on the bench and don't play him, the manager is going to get asked eventually, because on ability, he should be getting minutes by now. So it can only be, well, it could be one of a few things. It could be a personality thing, but I imagine it's fitness. But it is baffling to me, then why is he using up a space? You know, you think if you're the manager, it's going to get to the point where you're going to get asked about why Luiz isn't getting any minutes. Whereas if you leave him out of the squad and you say he's not ready yet, you kill that speculation, don't you? So it's a bit odd. It is a bit odd. I thought again, the last 20 would have been the time to bring him on, because he can sit and play the 6. He's got energy and he can pick a pass to a very high level. So, and he can take set pieces. So he ticks so many boxes for that last 15, 20 minutes when you're trying to get back into a game. There's got to be a reason why we're not seeing him.
I think so. I still wonder what our long-term midfield is, because I still would have him in it. I don't think Sangare did himself any favours today, but equally, I don't think Morgan did himself any favours today either. So you can't jump on one game particularly. I don't know. Are you worried about Morgan, Ruby, or not? 2 games in a row, I think he's been pretty terrible, but he's in the England squad. He was shortlisted for Premier League Player of the Season last year, and he has these games where he's brilliant, like Brentford at home. Is it too early to worry about Morgan or not?
Yeah, I definitely think it's too early to get overly concerned about anything. I'm just wondering if it's one of the scenarios where the other teams kind of now understand how he plays under Nuno, and bringing in Ange will kind of benefit Morgan if he gets a new role and he's kind of playing in a different way. Teams will not be as prepared as they seem to be against him, because I think more than he's not done well, the teams have defended really well against him the past couple matches, which is kind of a scary thought. I mean, McAtee is a really, really awesome option. Also, obviously, he didn't come in and do too much today, but I'd like to see a little more of him going forward. And obviously, we have Hutchinson on the bench as well, which we paid a hefty amount for, so I'd like to see him a little bit. I think we definitely have way more depth in his position than we did last season, so I'm slightly less concerned than I would have been. But obviously, he's our star player. We want to see him 10 out of 10 every match, so it's a little bit concerning, but I don't think there's a reason to get overly worried about anything just yet.
Cool. Right, let's take a word for the Trent navigation, then we'll probably do the great game chronologically, and it might lead into a few more players. Coming up, Betis. No, that's the wrong game. Good start. Is this Betis? Yes, that's Betis. Right, Betis away. You can watch it at the Nav. If you're not lucky enough to be out there, then do head down to Nav, get your dinner there, enjoy our first game back in Europe. Still very much one to look forward to. Happy hour from 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. So you can make a good occasion of it, certainly. You don't need to book, just head down and enjoy whatever happens in Seville. Right, let's do the game chronologically then, I guess, Paul. I mean, it's fair to say the goal was an exceptional strike, but it was coming, wasn't it, did you think?
It was, yeah. I mean, there was corner after corner, wasn't it? It felt like it was coming. I think if you break it down, obviously the one question mark you say, well, how can he be left with that much space on the edge of the box? But if you think about how good Arsenal are from corners and their threat in the box, it kind of makes sense to load the box. And if the ball gets nodded out and someone pings it in the roof of the net from 25 yards on a volley, you just kind of got to hold your hand up and say, that 95 times out of 100 that ends up, flying over the crossbar and we have a goal kick. So it's really difficult when you're on the end of one of those. I think you've got to kind of hold your hands up and say, fair play to the lad that stuck it in the net. I think Sells saw it very late, came through a crowd. I think he might have even got a flick off someone. Was it Murillo or Anderson? I wasn't sure. But yeah, it just felt like it was coming. And we were under the cosh for the most part of that. First half an hour or so. I say, funnily enough, when Murillo, because I think it was the corner from where Murillo got his knock, wasn't it, that we conceded, and then he went on pretty much straight away. And then we looked, as I said earlier, a little bit better shape-wise and had a bit more of the ball in the last 10 minutes of the first half. And I think actually going in at half-time, 1-0 down, I was like, okay, we can sort of regroup, because we had played better in that last 10 minutes of the first half. And then and I'm sure we'll get to it. Then that second goal goes in, and it just sort of kills us right at the start of the second half, and then it's a massive uphill battle from there, and the game's pretty much done. Although we kept fighting, kept going for it, but ultimately the writing was on the wall. I think 2 minutes into the second half.
Yeah, certainly. 530 people with us, by the way. Do us a favour and hit like if you haven't already. That'd be great. There's no saving that, is there, Mark? I know it's deflected, but I think that was an unstoppable strike. None of us are goal. I'll text James Belshaw, but none of us are experts. But you're not expecting him to save that, are you?
Without the deflection, this is Matt Sells. Yeah, I don't know. I think the deflection played a part. I think.
It did.
He was set, and that deflection just took it off. And I mean, James will probably tell you that can change everything. So I don't know. It was a good strike. And what can you do? It just seems that Arsenal do score wonder goals against us when they beat us. But I like Paul. I was going in thinking, okay, it's 1-0. We've shown glimpses. We've got a load of weapons on the bench, and I'm sure Ange will bring them on. If we can keep it at 1-0 to the last 20 minutes and really give it a go, we might get something from this, or we at least emerge with a 1-0 defeat and a bit of credit. But then, the second goal just knocked the wind out. It just killed that plan and knocked the wind out of ourselves completely, didn't it? So I think it's unfortunate the timing of that second goal. The first goal, there's not much you can do about that. It was on the cards, though. I mean, but that just comes from that frailty that we all spotted the minute we saw the team sheet, and I'm sure Arteta spotted it as well and just went, just go after Morato, and that's what Madueke did. And lo and behold, they won a series of corners, and eventually against the team that are the most potent from corners, you are going to concede something. And even this time, it was a bit indirectly, but great strike. And it's a shame, but I don't think that could be helped really, other than doing something to stop the flow of ball to Morato, which we just to Madueke, but we just weren't able to do that. Yeah,
well, just on that, Mark. I mean, what should have done something different with Madueke, like double up on him or something. I mean, to his credit, he gave Nico an awful time as well, but that's why I do the manager a bit.
We tried. Hudson got back a few times. Anderson was trying to put a shift in, but he was trying to cover everywhere, wasn't he, Anderson? So I guess it's putting pressure on the ball so that they don't have time and space to find Madueke and find him in 1-to-1. So maybe there's more we could have done there. Dare I say it? That comes back to the fact that I don't think Sangare is mobile enough to get into challenges to put pressure on. So we've got Anderson who was doing that. Gibbs-White wasn't doing that enough, and Sangare wasn't doing it enough. So, I just don't think we had enough pressure in the midfield areas to stop that flow to Madueke, and then it exposed Morato, and then eventually, I mean, it was going to pay off for a goal. It didn't directly, but just the weight of corners, one after another, they were always going to get something from one of them eventually. I think Lech said it in commentary, didn't he?
Yeah, I think 70% of their attacks were down that side, and you can see why. But a 1-0 at the break, you're right in the game. Start the second half like that, Ruby. Like, Savona had done all right for 10 minutes when he came on, but they showed that still of the high line, and he's just so far behind it. Is it the case that he's new, he's young, he's still learning, and we don't read anything into it, or are you like, what are you doing there?
Yeah, I think it was nerves. I think that was more him getting really worried about being caught out. And he just got a little bit too antsy and was off the mark too quickly. I get it. I don't know what you guys saw in your broadcast, but they didn't show us the proper lines drawn. I'm convinced it may have been offside, but that's just me. That's just me thinking that the refs
they just showed the arm sticking out, which is nonsense anyway. But
exactly. So I was a little bit but I don't know. I think it's tough. I think what is he, 21 or something like that? He's
21, 22, yeah.
Yeah, that's young. As a 23-year-old, that's really young. So, I don't know. I think it's tough. I think we can't put too much pressure on him. I think he needs to get settled in, and it's going to be a learning process, of course. I mean, the Prem is a whole different beast from Serie A. I mean, it's 10 times faster. So, I think once he gets settled in, he showed glimmers of hope. I wasn't like, oh my God, this guy looks horrible. So I'm not getting ahead of ourselves. I think he'll be okay. It just was a rough moment.
The only time we looked like scoring, Paul, was Chris Wood's horrific first touch, I think. Or was he trying to bring that down? I don't know.
Oh, I'm not having that. He definitely meant that.
You think he meant to score? I don't know.
Of course he did. He adjusted and meant to chest it onto goal, don't you think, Paul?
I thought he did. Yeah, I thought he didn't. Well, I think it was probably a cross for whoever was coming in behind.
It wasn't a cross for him, was it? No. And one just thing before you talk about it, it was weird how Woods, he didn't react to it like, "Oh, I've almost scored a goal there." That was a bit strange. I am joking a bit that it wasn't his first touch, but I don't know what he thought he could do with it, because it was absolutely zipped in at him. But it would have been an unusual goal, I guess.
It would. I think more than anything, when it then came down, Hudson-Odoi dithered on it. He had an opportunity to get a shot away, 7 or 8 yards out, and took an extra touch. So, if anything, in that whole sort of passage of play, Wood did as well as he could have done to deflect the ball towards goal. It was actually a really good save. I think Raya got his fingertips to it. And like I say, arguably the best chance in the game Forest had was when it fell to Hudson-Odoi and he didn't get a shot away. So that was, if we'd got one back there, what was that, 55 minutes, 56 minutes, something like that?
51.
50, was it that soon after? Okay. So, 5 minutes after conceding, we could have been right back in it. So, again, a bit like we said after the Palace game, width of a post away, and this time width of a crossbar away from a potentially a different outlook on the game at that point in time. So, yeah, I mean, look, I think ultimately we were second best today, and had that gone in, and if we'd have scampered something, maybe that would have been, but maybe would have flattered us. But it's an opportunity which we didn't take, and I think by and large today we were okay in the middle third of the pitch. I think I said this before, but at both ends was where their, as Mark said, their defensive prowess just predominantly shut us down every time we sort of got near the final third. And our defensive prowess was not there because of personnel and injuries and all the rest of it. So that was ultimately the difference.
I thought Anderson was okay. I thought Anderson was doing a lot of work for maybe 3 roles, and that was a bit of a concern how comfortable it was for Arsenal just to sort of play through us. It goes back to what we were saying about Sangare and to an extent Morgan. Someone said about Morgan, you have to pick on form, which I agree. Just going back to that though, ordinarily I agree, Mark, but he's not going to drop Morgan. It's too much of a statement. You're coming in to get yourselves on side with players in the dressing room, and that's too bold for me. People won't like that in the chat, but what do you think?
No, he's captain, isn't he? It's very difficult, and I think that again, he's playing against the best defence in the Premier League, so he's not going to get much time and space. The player they could afford to put Declan Rice on the bench in midfield. So it's a top quality opponent. He didn't have a great game. He didn't impose himself in the same way that Anderson was trying, and I think that we're seeing Elliot Anderson step up, and I think it is shining a light on Morgan a little bit more, as in, well, come on, Morgan, you need to do the same. And he's a different player. His qualities are different. I when he's having one of those games, I like to see him come deeper, and I would have liked to have seen him again drop alongside Elliot Anderson and bring McAtee on, because I think when Morgan is having a poor game, get him on the ball more, get him in areas where he can find a teammate, and not in areas like in front of the defence where he feels he's got to find flicks and tricks and so on, because they don't come off when he's not playing well. We saw against Brentford when they do come off, he's incredible. So in a game where it's not working for him, drop him deep, get him on the ball more, let his quality of his passing and vision come to the fore. But that didn't happen. We played him in the 10 and we took him off for McAtee. But that's what I'd like to see. I don't think you can drop Gibbs-White. I think he's got to be in that team somewhere, because he does bring us so much, and he can play in a variety of positions at midfield. I'd just like to see him used differently when he's not on it.
I do think, as T-Dub says here,
I'd
100% rest him against Swansea. And then that does present McAtee the opportunity to come in and play really well. And then that challenges Morgan to raise his game. Because if McAtee, as Ruby said, there's options there now, then present him that challenge and see if he can rise to it. Because if there is a viable option playing really well, in McAtee or someone then it does create a different question, certainly. The thing I liked about that move, Ruby, where Wood hit the bar, was Dan and Doy taking on his fullback, which is something we haven't necessarily seen from him. I thought he was good on the left, a bit in and out first half, but did you like what you saw from him today, or are you still looking for a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're always going to be looking, at least right now, a little while, for a bit more. I just really think we miss Elanga. I think we were never, I don't want to say never, but we really were not going to find a like-for-like swap there. And I mean, between his speed and his movement and his on-the-ball dribbling, we really do miss kind of the whole package that he had. So it kind of stinks right now. Excuse me. But I think there's a lot of potential. I think each game he looks a little bit better. The first game I was a little bit worried, and then ever since then, it's been a little bit of a steady increase. And I think Bakwa came on and was a really good replacement. I think right away he did that little move into the free kick, which was nice to see. So that was cool. I just like a winger that kind of takes on their man. So that was fun to watch as well. So I think there's definitely potential just on the right wing in general. I think everything just needs more time. I think everybody needs to not get too ahead of themselves. I saw people saying that he was lightweight and kind of weak, which might be true. But again, the Prem is just such a unique league. So we need to give players the chance to get used to the amount of physicality and the speed that comes with it.
Yeah, if we're clutching at very limited positives today, Paul, I thought Bakwa was one. Straight away, he gets Calafiori booked, and he looked like he wanted to impose himself, didn't he?
100%. Yeah, I'm really enthused by what I saw today. I think he was definitely, alongside Anderson, which I guess we kind of come to expect a performance like that from Anderson. Bakwa was definitely the biggest positive takeaway, I think, from today, just in the flashes that we saw and an indication of what he could be. I think Ndoye was okay. Going back to what we talked about him, I think again, Ruby mentioned it, and the people mentioned it in the chat. He does seem to get shrugged off the ball quite easily, and I'm sure whether that's a strength and conditioning thing that he can work on over the course of the next few months. I'm sure the coaches will have identified that and will be working hard to make him stronger. And he'll have a fitness program, I'm sure, to try and rectify that. But yeah, Bakwa for me. I'm assuming he's probably going to get a start against Swansea as well. You'd expect changes, and then that whole Swansea game for a lot of people is a really good chance to put the hand up and say to Ange, look, you need to be picking me ahead of whoever else is in the Premier League squad. So I'm really excited to see more of Bakwa from the flashes that we saw today for sure.
Yeah, we'll do some Swansea chat on certainly Monday with Kelv and. Temps and Mikey, I think it is. At noon, and then we might do a match preview as well, depending on what else shapes up. Mark, feel free to weigh in on Bakwa, but also Richard and a few other people thought Callum Wendo looked decent as well. What did you make of those two?
Yeah, I mean, they came on and they made enough positive contributions to tell me that they want to be in that 11, and that's what you want to see. You want to see a bit of hunger, don't you? And you want to see players coming off the bench going, well, I'm gonna make you take attention and pay attention to what I can bring to this team and stake a claim for the shirt. So they both came on, I think, and showed that, particularly Bakwa. I think he was always looking for the positive pass. He was always looking to take his man on and make things happen, which is what you want. So, yeah, I mean, we knew we were getting a player of quality there. Calamondo as well can bring us goals, can bring us something different to Chris Wood. There's no question. I think his expectations in terms of starting role are going to have to be tempered somewhat by the fact that Chris Wood is so established and we're used to playing with him. And I think if we get wingers who can provide him service, he will continue to score goals. And we have got now we've got a wealth of talent in wide areas to give him the ammunition. So I think it would be wrong at the moment to consider dropping Chris Wood, but Calamondo will hopefully start at Swansea and again stake his claim. So it's very positive from that point of view. We're now in a position where the manager can turn around and see some things on the bench that he can introduce that will make a difference. And we saw that today. We saw players who are very keen to make an impression, which is great. But I mean, with Chris Wood, it's very difficult to displace him, I think, at the moment. But he'll get opportunities, there's no doubt.
Just before we start wrapping things up with a few final thoughts then, word for our second sponsors. Thanks very much to Nottingham Window Company, as ever, for their support. If you're looking for new windows, new doors, do check out the link in the description if you're looking to make a big purchase in the East Midlands in general, not if you're in Brooklyn moving into a new flat and things like that. Right. Where do you think, Ruby, I'll go around the room, where do you think we are as a club right now then? New manager, people are apprehensive. How are you feeling about it all?
I think apprehensive is a great word. I think we don't really know what the locker room's like. I think everything probably has been just really shaky the last couple of weeks. I think when you have all the news going on and that everybody knows that things are kind of up in flames right now. It kind of gets to people's heads, and I think that probably played a part in today as well. I think once we have a couple more games under our belt and now we've got the international window behind us, it's all about stability and Ange finding his starting 11 and finding the players he wants to use and finding the way that he wants to play with these players. Everything's going to kind of be shaky for a little while. So everybody, I mean, me too, but we all need to be a little patient. I like to throw stones and say, oh, everything should have been better. You should have done this. You should have done that. But everything is so up in the air right now, from a new manager to so many new players. Everything is really brand new, and we got to treat it like that. It's not going to be, I don't know, what's the phrase I'm looking for? It's not going to be all roses and flowers and whatever right away. There's going to be a rough adjustment period. But I think once we get past that, we've got a lot of individual talent. We've just got to put it together and find a team. But I'm excited. I think there is a lot of potential. I think Ange has kind of proven himself as a manager, and I'm just excited. I think it's a new era, and I'm looking forward to this season.
Sunshine and unicorns is my phrase for it all, for Greg Mitchell and for it in general. We are in turmoil, says Paul. What do you think of where we are right now?
Pat, I would respectfully disagree with you. I think, look, obviously today wasn't great, and the last few weeks have been a bit of a mess, if all told. But where we are as a club, we're about to go on our first European adventure for 30 years. We've got a very, very exciting squad of young players. We've got a manager who has a point to prove. The jury obviously is still out on him. I think I'm cautiously optimistic. But in terms of asking the question, where are we as a club? I think we're in as good a position as we've been. In fact, a better position than we've been in for the last 25 years in terms of the health of the club overall. So I think we shouldn't lose sight of that. And it's easy to get downbeat after a 3-0 defeat. But I think there will be many more positive days this season than there'll be negative. That's my viewpoint. I don't see anything that's changed that. I think we'll work through this period, as Ruby said. It'll be a bit of an adjustment. But I think we have to, in terms of the manager, we've got to give him a backing. I think most people are. I think I was definitely one of the ones who was questioning the appointment, or before it happened, questioning the merits of it. But it's here now; it's done. We can't change it. We might as well get behind it. And in the next weeks and months, the players are going to need to feel positive energy. The manager's going to need to feel positive energy from us. And so we should get behind it and try and be the difference maker. If you think about the way we've been in the last few seasons, particularly at home as a crowd. We've won points for the team, or we've helped the team get over the line, and we need to maintain that, and not just sort of as soon as there's a couple of bad results start to get entitled. And I think that's Pete used that phrase entitled after the West Ham game, I think, or during the West Ham game in terms of the performance. I think we just got to make sure as fans we don't slip into that. You look at what's happened with clubs like West Ham when they were clamouring for changes and thinking that they should be at the top half of the league, and they've had a terrible few years. So look, we need to be positive as a group, as a collective. I think if we are, that will transmit to the players, will transmit to the manager, and I think we can still have a very good season.
Do you think? I mean, I suppose I see it, Mark, that we're at a bit of a crossroads. Like today didn't tell me anything about the manager, really. I don't think, but probably the next 2-3 months will probably tell us a lot about where we're at, and we're either going to love it or we're going to need a lot of patience. But do you think crossroads is a fair term or not?
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, we wouldn't change the manager after 3 games. In an ideal world, we'd have had the new players in with a pre-season. But the fact is, we're lucky enough to have the best squad we've had for decades. We're lucky enough to have a manager who's replaced Nuno, who comes in with a very strong personality, a very clear identity of how he wants his teams to play, and we've got to get behind it. If you're naming managers who can come in and replace a manager 3 games in and turn things around, he would be on that list, because he is very strong in terms of getting the teams and dressing rooms behind him, apparently, from what we heard from the Celtic supporters and even the Spurs supporters. You look at when he left Spurs, he had the dressing room behind him, and if he didn't have the backing of the board. So he's a manager who can come in and get them rally things and get them to play the way he wants them to play. Now, there was nothing though that we saw today that I think, well, there you go. There's a clear indication of the direction we're taking. So I don't think we can comment on what we saw today in terms of the future. We've got every reason to be optimistic, as long as, like Paul says, we've got to temper our expectations. I mean, I'm not sitting here now going, well, I demand a top 6 and we win the Europa League. If we're going in with those expectations, we probably will be disappointed. But I don't think we should sit there with those expectations. I think, not so long ago, we were fighting for our lives in this division. So let's be thankful that I don't think we're going to be in that situation for many, many years now, because hopefully we've got the foundation of a squad that can build from here and a manager that can impose his will in a successful way to get us results going forward. So we've got to think like that and be optimistic, but just manage our expectations and get behind the team and the manager.
Between now and the November international break, we've got 12 games, and this is what I'm really looking at. I think this will be a really good barometer. So I'll just read out quickly of who we've got. Swansea, Burnley, Betis, Sunderland, Midtjylland, Newcastle away, Chelsea home, Porto home, Bournemouth away, United away, Sturm Graz away, and Leeds at home. That's a real spread of fixtures that will probably tell us everything we need to know, I would hope, about at least where we're going. Right. Anything you want to add, Ruby, before we go? Any final thoughts?
Shout out Elliot Anderson.
Man of the match.
Amazing.
Sorry, we haven't done man of the match. Yeah, Ruby, man of the match for you.
There you go. If it's anything other than Elliot Anderson, that's shocking.
Yeah, 100% Elliot Anderson for me by an absolute mile, which is a bit worrying because everyone else was a bit of a 5 out of 10 apart from Murillo and Bakwa off the top of my head. So yeah. Paul, anyone else for you?
No, Anderson for sure. Yeah.
Cool. Mark, you're going to say Anderson, aren't you? I suppose?
Yeah, and it's worrying because the more he stands out, the more it's going to be difficult to fend off attention from other clubs because. We all predicted, I think, that he would be our player of the year. I don't think any of us predicted that 4 games in, he'd be at the level he's already at. I thought it was going to be a gradual thing over the year that he would show us that, what a player he is and he's taking control of games. He's shown it a lot earlier than I expected. I think those England appearances did the world of good. And, I think today's performance was actually more like an 8 or 9 because I think it was just because he was up against Arsenal. It didn't show like that. I thought he was outstanding. So... yeah, it's a shame others didn't get to his level. Hopefully that, he can lead by example and bring people like Morgan up to that level. And then we're really talking. I think also a word for that finish, that effort from Chris Wood, it was almost like Giroud's scorpion kick for me. He meant it. I think if that had gone in, everyone would go in. Honestly, if that had gone in. Yeah, but if that had gone in, we'd have been going, oh my God, what a piece of improvisation from a first-class elite finisher. Because I thought the same as you. I thought it was just an inadvertent touch. Then when I saw the replay, he definitely was getting that on target. And if that had gone in, it would have been such a goal to talk about. It would have, I think, usurped his header against Henderson, that kind of touch. So Chris Wood, get him service and we'll be fine. And Elliot, fantastic, yeah.
Right, I'm going to re-watch the Chris Wood touch because I've only seen one replay to see how good it was. I've still got faith in Chris Wood as well. For the next couple of games, I hope we stick with him at least, and then we'll see what Callum Wendo can do. There's a lot of promise there as well. I think, Ruby, you didn't get a chance to say anything. I mean, what time is it there, by the way? Just for a word for our fans around the world in America. You had to get up at what time to watch this game?
7:15 a.m.
I mean, for a 23-year-old, that's like 4 a.m. really, isn't it? That's disgusting. So yeah. Well done to you. Well done. Back to bed now.
No, I'm moving. I don't have that luxury.
God, that's a warrior. Moving and watching the game, and a game like that as well. Paul, anything you want to add?
I promised I'd give the lads at Forest Retro a shout out, which is the shirt I'm wearing, which is from I think I've worn it before on here a couple of times. The 85-86 away shirt. I think they've got a new one coming out, which is the 86-87 Home Ales shirt, which is the first one that I had when I was 8 years old. At Forest Retro on X or Twitter, whatever you call it, worth following them, and they come out with a new issue every sort of retro kit. So definitely worth checking out if that's your thing. Other than that, thanks for having me.
I normally charge for ads, but you can have the commission for that one. A word for all the fans around the world. 4:30 for Richard.
Maybe they can send you a shirt.
I'll take it. Yeah, and anyone who's in Australia, I'm probably. Oh man, I haven't mentioned all the Australians who've been started following and watching the love for Ange. We've got a lot.
The Ange effect, you see. Yeah.
It's the Ange effect. He's big business, certainly. I was naively surprised by how big a business he is. Let's hope he brings us some results after today. We'll put that one behind us. Mark, anything you want to plug?
No, I've already given you a hard time on the Chris Word comment, so I think I'm done. But no, let's not overreact. It's not often that we watch Forest at the Emirates and end the game with any real positives, and it's no different today. I mean, they're a quality team. They're going to challenge Liverpool for the title. We didn't make them try hard enough to win the game again today, but that's been the same story for a few times we've been there. The real test there will come at Burnley, so there'll be more hopefully to see from the manager in that Burnley performance. It'll be good for midweek to see some of players like Hutchinson and McAtee get minutes, hopefully Lewis as well. So yeah, let's be positive. There's still a long way to go in Postecoglou's reign, of course, and we'll see more impact in the games to come, I'm sure.
Yeah, my frustration wasn't with the manager, apart from the fullback thing. My frustration was we just haven't. We've gone to Arsenal every single season and never made them work for a win. And this season, we've got a team that should have made them work harder than that. And it was frustrating to see that performance. But the next few games, as we've repeatedly said, will tell us more. Right, hopefully people have enjoyed that. Do us a favour, hit like if you haven't already. Do subscribe. Do consider channel membership or Patreon. There's a Discord server now. I finally set one up. I did it the 2025 way of following a YouTube tutorial for 3 hours.
Do you know what you're doing with Discord, Matt? Seriously, because I didn't have a clue when I looked at that. So I'm surprised you're taking that on.
I've taken it on because I was talking to Baker and he said Discord's massive on their Patreon. So I watched. It was a 30-minute YouTube tutorial, but I'm 43 and I had to rewind it a lot.
I'll lend you Billy. He's like an administrator and a moderator on about 10 Discord servers. So I'll lend you Billy's expertise if you need any help with that. So
yeah,
I believe in child slave labour. He's on 30.
We're not promoting child labour on this podcast before anyone.
No, but honestly, he was trying to help me with mine, but I just gave up on it. But yeah, that's a rabbit hole you've got into there. But yeah, it will be good if you get it to work for you.
I've never even heard of a Discord server until I don't even know what one is.
It's a young person thing, isn't it? I don't know. Ruby
like a streaming platform.
It used to be, it's a streaming platform, but yeah, it's a very good community tool, and if you can get it working for us, then that's great. But there's a lot to it.
It was working during the game today. People were having a chat, and it was all pretty friendly. So if you remember, jump on it, and the links in the community chat on YouTube and Patreon. And if you're not a member, then jump on it and join, hopefully, a friendly conversation anyway. Right, there you go. Thanks very much, everyone. Like I say, we're back on Monday at noon with Kelv and Temps and Mikey. I'm hoping to speak to a guy who's written a biography of the manager to try and learn more about him. So that should be Tuesday's podcast. And then Wednesday will be post-match at Swansea. Right, thanks very much, everyone. Have a good weekend. And if we don't see you Monday, we shall see you soon.